Hi, Nicole. I just realized I had my hair put back from cooking earlier, and now it looks, see, I just stick it back because I'm a stickler about, hair. You want to play some trivia? If we get anybody, if not, it'll be just you and I. 90s trivia. Ooh. I haven't been live for a while, so I thought I'd better come live really quick. Let's see if we get a couple more, Nicole. Marco. We got some of the Zoom crew. Oh, Nicole, do you want to see how your jar turned out? I still have to put the coating, the glaze on. Do you want to see it though? I love it. Lexi, what are you laughing about? Oh, I thought I heard you laughing. Even Lexi liked it. I mean, because she commented on it without me asking her anything. So I know she likes it. Do you want to see it, Nicole? Yes or no? Ah. Nicole, do you want to see it? Okay, does anybody want to play? I'll show it at the end. How about that? Here we go. Here we go. How about the Toy Story movies? Which actor voiced the role of Ham in Toy Story, marking the first of 22 consecutive appearances for the actor in Pixar feature films? Anybody? I feel like nobody's listening. Hello? 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 Anybody know that? What is the name of the prospector character Woody encounters in Toy Story 2, voiced by Kelsey Grammer? You don't? Okay, we'll start with another subject. Hi, Nana May. How are you? Want some trivia from the 90s? How about medical dramas? Okay. What was the name of the character played by George Clooney in ER, who works as a pediatrician in the show's emergency department? Remember, this is 90s. It's 90s medical dramas on TV. Anybody got it? It's Dr. Doug Ross. Dr. Hot. Yeah, I didn't watch it either. Which British medical drama set in a hospital in the fictional English country of Wyvern launched in 1999 as a spin-off from the long-running Casualty, also set in the same hospital? And I've never heard of it. It's called Holby City. For which medical soap opera, which has a U.S. city in its name, did Mandy Patinkin win a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series in 1995? Hi, Sunkissed. Yes, that's almost 20 years old, Sunkissed, because I'm holding my granddaughter, Maddie, and she'll be 20 in June. Isn't that crazy? Wow. A medical soap opera. Nobody knows these, do they? Santa Barbara? No, good guess though. Chicago Hope. Which medical crime drama series starring Dick Van Dyke and his real-life son as a crime-solving duo debuted in 1993? And I didn't know his son was in that with him. I never knew that. What was the name of it? Medical crime drama series. Anybody? This isn't going too well, is it? This isn't really going too well. Diagnosis murder. How about a scary story instead? This isn't working out too well tonight. How about a scary story? Okay? How about a scary story? Let me change this. Let me change it. I got a little bit of interaction there with that. Okay. I know I have some here on my phone. Let me get it. Bring my holder over here. Nicole, you didn't answer me if you wanted to see your jar that I finished. I'll show it if you want. If you don't want, I won't. Okay, here, it's right here. Let me show you. Let me throw this over here. I still need to put the shiny gloss on it to make it all shiny. It'll be shined up. I haven't put it on yet. I really, really like it. I think it turned out really well. And it will have a lid on it too. You like it, Nana May? Isn't it pretty? I'm really loving this stuff, if you can't tell. This is the one I'm working on now. Right, Nicole? And it didn't look like much that night, did it? But we made it nice and pretty. Oh, and here's that green one. Remember that it was over to the side? I've got this finished too. I just need to put the gloss on it. Right, Sunkissed? I hate saying gorgeous because I did it, but it is surprising. I'm like, whoa. Now Lexi is laughing. Pretty, right? And then I'm working on this one. It's almost done. I have one over there that's a totally different thing, but I've never done it before, and I'm trying it. Got this cute little, but I'm still going to do dots. I'm loving doing these dots. So this will be cute too. Thanks, Nicole. Yes, Sunkissed, yes. Yeah, see, I'm leaving a lot of the bottoms open. It would be very pretty, the little light in it. I don't want that to fall. Okay, let's read a story. Let me get them here really quick, guys. So just stay here. We're going to read something. Don't leave. Get to my Kindle. Sorry, guys, just 1 second. Sorry. leave. I got bored. I wanted to take a little break and just do something different for a minute. Okay, I know I have the stories here. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, let me get to the beginning of this one. Okay. This one's a true crime podcast about myself. And this is all one author in here. He has 13 stories, I think, in here. Every night on my walk home from work, I listen to true crime podcast. Even though my favorite podcast already released their episode for this week, the app said there was a new one. Excited, I hit play. It was a small town, the kind that still has mom and pop shops lining the street, the kind where everyone knows your name, but little did the residents know that they would soon be rocked by a horrible crime. I stopped at a traffic light. The red glowed in the darkness, glinting off the wet street. A black SUV sloshed by. Across from me, eerie blue refrigerator lights glowed from inside a corner deli. The chairs all up on their tables, feet in the air. The signal turned to walk. That chilly September evening was no different for the young student. She'd left her shift at the local store and walked back home, except she never made it home. Young student, local store. Damn, this was hitting close to home. I was a part-time student at Franklin Community College and worked at the local convenience store. And of course, I was walking home. I glanced behind me, looking at the alleyway behind Alessandro's Pizza, which was dark except for the neon light spilling from the sign. Her boyfriend reported her missing the next day. The town conducted a volunteer-led search, and after 2 days, they found something. Dread formed in my stomach, anticipating a body, but what he said next was so much worse. Washed up on the shore of Worthington Lake, they found a pair of size 9 red Converse sneakers. I stopped and looked down at my red Converse sneakers, damp from the rain. What the hell? My heart began to pound. The shoes were sent to a forensic analyst who would compare its wear pattern to another pair of her shoes to try and determine if they belonged to the victim. A rumbling sound made me jump. I turned to see a dark SUV turning left at the intersection. Didn't I see that car a few minutes ago? Maybe it's following me. And the car passed me and disappeared into the darkness. Come on, Sarah, get a grip. Converse are popular sneakers, a little out of fashion, but still. 9 is a common woman's shoe size. And what college student doesn't have some sort of a job? What, you think you're listening to some sort of prophecy of your own death? Yeah, right. After a few weeks, the results came back. The analyst was certain. The shoes belonged to none other than Sarah Campbell. The blood drained from my face. Sarah Campbell, my name. What the fudge? How? I didn't have time to think. I forced myself to move. I broke into a run. The small shops turned into a colorful blur. Searching the lake came up empty. Without a body, a crime is hard to solve. But police didn't give up. And finally, a witness came forward. Someone had seen a car parked at the lake that night around 2 a.m., a black SUV with darkened windows. No. What the hell is going on? I whipped around. The street was empty. No people, no cars, no witnesses, said the little voice in the back of my mind. The one that's watched way too many crime shows. My eyes scanned the shops, all closed. There were 6 black SUVs matching the witness's description in the Franklin area, but one of them in particular caught Detective Nolan's eye. It belonged to John Kelly, a registered S offender. Vroom. The sound was so soft I almost didn't hear it over the voice of the podcast. I whipped around, and there it was, 2 blaring white headlights behind me, coming from a black SUV. I forced my legs to pump faster. The car didn't speed up. It crawled along slowly, taking its time, like the driver knew he could catch me no matter what. I glanced back, trying to make him out behind the darkened windshield, but the headlights were too bright to see anything. Kelly wasn't just a registered sex offender. He'd been convicted of assaulting a woman who had multiple piercings and short dark hair, just like Sarah. The car crawled down the road, stalking me like a lioness stalks her prey. I veered left onto our dark residential street, just a few more steps. Headlights flashed across me, illuminating my running shadow on the pavement. I didn't look back. I just ran as fast as I possibly could. The little brown house with the yellow shutters came into my view. I sprinted across the grass, grabbing my keys from my pocket. Click. I threw the door open and slammed it shut behind me. Then I turned the deadbolt, collapsed against the door, and began crying. I heard the rush of the car passing our house, continuing down the road. But I wasn't safe. Gabe wasn't home yet. I was alone in a dark house with someone driving down the street who knew exactly where I lived. Still sobbing, I checked all the locks. Then I called Gabe, who assured me he was 5 minutes away. I made my way down the dark hallway and headed into the bathroom. Then I set my phone on the counter, grabbed a clump of tissues, and began to blow my nose. Click. I jumped, whipped around, but it wasn't coming from outside the door. My phone's screen lit up. The podcast was still playing. I must have hit it when I put the phone down. It had skipped several minutes forward, according to the play indicator. What do you think happened to Sarah? The baritone voice asked. I reached for it to turn it off. Well, she told me she wanted to run away before. I stopped dead. It was Gabe's voice, clear as day, coming from the speakers. She did. Why? The voice asked. She wasn't happy with her grades, her job, her parents. She told me sometimes she'd dream of just moving to some random state and leaving it all behind. I froze, staring at the mirror. I never said that. Never. Gabe was lying. I mean, that was hurtful to me as her boyfriend, you know? I thought we were going to get married someday, but apparently she didn't feel the same way. My heart pounded in my ears. So you think she just skipped town and is happily living her life out somewhere else rather than being abducted or murdered? A pause. Yes, that's exactly what I think. That's all for now. Thank you to our listeners. The outro played. I stared at my reflection, everything coming down all at once, my mind trying to race and catch up with what it meant. The front door creaked open. Footsteps sounded outside. Sarah, I'm back. I backed away from the door. Sarah! My eyes fell on the window. I ran over to it, turned the lock. Push. I popped the screen out. Then I swung a leg over, pulled myself through the window, and ran as fast as I could. That was kind of weird, but not too bad, right? Different. Thanks, Nicole, for asking people to hit the like. Let me find another one in here. You liked it? Yeah, I did too. I think I read this one before, didn't I? The painting my husband keeps. Let me know if I did. I remember reading it, but I think I read it to myself. It wasn't too bad. When my husband and I first got married and moved in together, we had a few fights on personal space, on chores, and on decor. Namely, my husband insisted on keeping this weird painting of a woman. Who is she? I'd asked when I first saw it, leaning against a mountain of moving boxes. I think I did read this, didn't I, to you guys? Or did you not hear it? Should I keep reading it? Don't know. Got it at a rummage sale, he said. I guess I'll keep reading it. Okay. All right, I'll continue. It was an original painting. Oil, I think, judging by the way the light reflected off the brush strokes. One more sip here. It depicted a young woman standing in a dark room, looking over her shoulder at the viewer. She was actually rather beautiful, blonde hair falling over her shoulders like a waterfall, a white cotton dress. Okay, good. All right, good. Um, a dainty, heart shaped face that was somehow haunting rather than cute. She was illuminated brightly, but the room behind her was dark. The contrast and her pose reminded me a little bit of Girl with a Pearl Earring, but it didn't feel classy or pensive or beautiful. Instead, it felt creepy, especially because my husband insisted on hanging it over our bed. I mean, it's a beautiful painting, I said, but it just doesn't fit with the modern decor. Neither do your Funko Pops. Okay, but they're small. This painting is enormous. For Pete's sakes, the woman is nearly life sized. I want to keep her where she is. It seemed like a big deal to him, so I dropped it, but it wasn't easy. Sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night with the horrible feeling that I was being watched. Then I'd look up and see her haunting gray eyes staring down at me. I didn't get much sleep after that. And there was the one time I swear she moved. Was her hand always like that? I asked Eric after getting into bed one night. Hmm? Her left hand. The fingers are kind of open, reaching out behind her, like she's waiting for someone to grab her hand. Yeah, she was always like that. I could have sworn she wasn't always like that. Then again, I generally avoided looking at the painting. It was so uncomfortably realistic. When I stared into those gray eyes, I almost felt like I was making eye contact with a person. I lasted 2 weeks. Then I begged Eric to move it. Can we please move the painting somewhere else? I really hate looking at it when I'm going to sleep. It's the nicest piece of art we have. It belongs above the bed. What about the sunflower one? That's just a print, he complained, and it's so basic. Come on, I'll move my Funko Pops out if you move the painting out. He heaved a long sigh. Fine, I'll move her. That was another thing. He often referred to the painting as quote unquote her. It was weird. So he moved it to the stairs. But honestly, that was worse. Every time I went downstairs, there she was, staring at me from above the landing with those piercing gray eyes. At least when the painting was in the bedroom, I was usually asleep or facing the opposite direction. I hit my breaking point a few days after that. For some reason, I couldn't sleep. After tossing and turning for an hour, I decided to grab a snack downstairs. I got to the top of the stairs, and there she was. I hadn't turned on the main lights. Only the night light in the hall bathroom was on. With everything so dark, the background of the painting melted into the shadows. But the woman still stood out with her pale face and white dress. And my stupid, sleepy brain interpreted it as an actual person standing there. I jumped about a foot in the air, and I would have fallen all the way down the stairs had I not caught the banister at the last second. Can we please get rid of that painting? I asked the next morning. Eric turned away from the stove, set the spatula down. Why? Last night, it scared the frick out of me. I nearly fell down the stairs. He stared at me as if unable to understand. She scared you? He asked slowly. Well, more like startled me. I thought it was actually a person standing there. He looked at me. Then he broke into laughter. And after a few seconds, I started laughing too. It was pretty stupid, now that I thought about it. I know I was sleepy, but still, I thought the painting was a person. What did I think they were? What did I think we were being? Burglarized by a young, beautiful blonde woman in a nightdress? For now, I'll move her into my office. Then you don't have to look at her at all. That sounds good. And for a while after that, things were okay. I sort of noticed Eric spending more time in his office than usual, but he also had a big deadline for a brief coming up. And how would that be related to the painting anyway? It's not like he was staring at her for hours on end, except that's exactly what I caught him doing. One night, he didn't come downstairs to eat dinner with me. I called up to him a few times. No reply. So I went upstairs and walked into his office to find him staring at her. He was just sitting there with his computer closed, no papers on the desk, swivel chair turned towards the woman in the painting. Oh, he said suddenly when I walked in. Then he quickly stood up. I was just about to come down. Just sent in the brief a few minutes ago. They're really happy with it. He smiled broadly at me as if nothing were wrong, and then slipped past me. I listened to his footsteps thump down the stairs. Had he actually just finished working, or was he just sitting in here staring at her? I ultimately decided not to bring it up. The painting was out of my sight, and that was great. Besides, I had bigger fish to fry, like my own deadline coming up for an article I hadn't even started. But then, on Friday afternoon, I accidentally overheard him on the phone. His voice was muffled through the thick wooden door, but it was almost hard to hear him. He was shouting almost. "I'll have it in by tonight." "No, I knew it was due on Wednesday." "Well, my wife fell down the stairs. I had to take her to the hospital." Those words sent a chill through me. I barged in. "Why are you lying about me falling down the stairs?" His face paled. He ended the call and turned towards me. "I'm so sorry, Tara, but I needed an excuse. I missed the deadline on that brief, and it's my job on the line." "The brief you told me you finished 2 days ago?" He nodded silently. I crossed my arms. "Look, Eric, your work is your business, but we've spent like all of 1 hour together all week because you've been locked in here all day, every day. I mean, are you even working? Or are you just sitting in here staring at her?" His dark eyes locked on mine, and then his voice grew soft. "You're jealous of her." "What?" "You shouldn't be, Tara," he said, stepping towards me. "The painting makes her prettier than she was." I froze, stared at him. Then I finally found the words. "Are you saying this is a painting of someone you know?" "No," he said slowly. "Sorry, I misspoke. I meant whoever this is a portrait of. I'm sure it's a flattering likeness. All portraits are flattering like that." I stared at him, my heart pounding in my chest. "Who is this a painting of, Eric?" "I told you it's not Eric." I stepped towards him. My legs felt weak, wobbling underneath me. "Who is this a painting of?" He only shook his head. I couldn't sleep that night. I know it sounds silly, being so worked up over a painting, but you have to admit it was weird. He was obsessed with this thing for whatever reason. Why didn't I see the painting when we were dating? Did he hide it away in the basement? That was the one place I'd never been. Had he built a little shrine down there? Painting, candles, the whole 9 yards? The thought of that made me sick. Is it an ex-girlfriend? An ex-wife even? That he never told me about? Getting a painting commissioned must have cost a fortune, especially a huge, detailed one like this. I mean, as much as I hated that thing, it was clearly done by someone incredibly gifted. The glint in those piercing gray eyes, the small dimple on her right cheek. But clearly, he wasn't keeping it to appreciate the artistry. He knew her, and whoever she was, he's obsessed with her. And then I got the craziest idea. I sat up in bed, slowly, quietly, turned to Eric. He was fast asleep. Then I slipped out from underneath the covers, grabbed my phone from the nightstand, and tiptoed out of the room. My bare feet padded softly across the hallway as I made my way towards his office. Then I pushed the heavy wooden door open and stepped inside. The office was cold, much colder than our bedroom. Goosebumps pricked up on my bare arms. But I didn't waste any time. I reached over, fumbling across the wall, and hit the switch. The light flicked on. The blonde woman stared down at me from the wall. Her eyes seemed to follow me as I took Eric's leather chair, and dragged it across the hardwood. Once against the wall, I stepped up onto it. We were staring at each other face to face. I'd never been this close to the painting before, my face inches from hers. This close, I could truly appreciate the detail, each individual eyelash painstakingly drawn, curving up from its follicle, thread-like striations of light and dark gray filling her irises. Her skin so pale and creamy, dotted with the tiniest of pores. But I wasn't here to appreciate the artwork. I lifted my phone and took a photo. Then I brought up a reverse image search. It took a few minutes for me to find the right website and upload the photo. But when the results loaded, I gasped. I expected maybe one result if I were lucky. Some sort of facial recognition that would match the painted face to photo. Or maybe the artist's website would come up and mention who the subject was. But instead, dozens of thumbnails filled the page of the exact same painting I'd been staring at for weeks. Fingers trembling, I clicked on the first one. It led to a news article. Search continues for missing Franklin art student. My heart dropped. Little black dots danced in my vision. I collapsed into the chair behind me, trembling, and began to read. Anya Kelsing, 23, went missing after a hike with her boyfriend. The two became separated when they came upon a bear. Her backpack was found roughly a mile from where the sighting occurred, but no trace of Anya was found. And the caption under the painting, Kelsey is a third-year student at Franklin College, majoring in fine arts. She recently completed a self-portrait that was exhibited at Le Coeur above. I clicked on the next article and the next, but they all said the same thing: hike, bear, disappearance. All of them showed a photo along with her self-portrait. She looked strikingly identical to her painted likeness. None of them mentioned the boyfriend's name, but it had to be Eric. The most recent article from 5 years ago was a video clip of her parents begging for her search to continue. Sadly, judging by the news articles, it never did. I don't know how long I sat there. All I know is that I was suddenly jolted from my thoughts by a loud thump in the hallway. Footsteps coming towards the office. I shot up. He can't find me here. I glanced around the room, looking for someplace, any place that I could hide. But it was probably too late. Surely he'd seen the light on from under the door. I ducked under the desk just as he stepped into the room. Tara? I clapped my hands over my mouth, trying to silence my ragged breathing. He's going to see the chair out of place. He knows I'm here. He knows. Tara, you in here? Why did I hide? I could have just said I came in here because I heard a noise, needed a pen, couldn't sleep. Why the F did I hide? Now he's going to know that I know. Tara. But maybe it's fine. Maybe the bear got Anya. Maybe Eric had nothing to do with it. Isn't that more likely than Eric being a murderer? There you are. I looked up and screamed. Eric was crouched there in front of the desk, staring at me. I was looking for a pen, I stuttered lamely. I wanted to write down. I remembered I have to pick up groceries tomorrow, and I needed to add something. He tilted his head, a small smile on his lips. I don't think that's the truth, Tara. Make a break for it. I started to lunge out from under the desk. His hand quickly shot out and grabbed my wrist. Hard. You figured out who she is, didn't you? That's the only reason you'd be hiding from me. I trembled in his grasp. What did you do to her? I whispered. He let out a dry laugh. So you think I'm a murderer? How nice. That's the first conclusion you jump to? No, I don't think you're a murderer, I swallowed. Stupid, stupid, stupid. If he killed her, he knows you know, and then you're dead too. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Just what happened? They didn't find a body. Did the bear get her? He didn't reply, just stared at me silently with those cold, dark eyes. I was jealous, I continued desperately, but now I understand. I wish you'd just told me. To lose someone like that, of course you'd want to keep the painting. It's all you have left of her. You should have just left it alone, he said, his tone oddly emotionalist. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. I screamed as he lunged for me. It's over. His hands were clenched tight on my wrist as he dragged me out from under the desk. I pulled back, trying to wrench myself free, but it was no use. Thump. A loud crash sounded behind us. Eric whipped around, and for a split second, his grip released. I acted instantly, pulled free from him and ran, pivoting around the desk and racing towards the door. As I glanced back, I saw Eric staring after me, but I also saw what had made the noise. The painting of Anya had fallen from the wall. It lay askew on the floor, her gray eyes staring emptily upwards. I was always a fast runner. Eric was only halfway down the stairs by the time I was at the bottom. Bursting out into the cold air, I began to scream. He grabbed me from behind and tried to pull me back inside, but it was too late. Lights were flickering on. Our neighbor rushed out of his house, dialing 911. It was over. The police arrested Eric for assault. And once I told them my story of his obsession with Anya's painting, they were able to search our house. And hidden in his office drawer, in a small box, was a pair of gold earrings, the same earrings Anya wore on the hike that day. The case is slowly mounting against him. I'm hoping, praying Anya gets justice and that a jury convicts him of her horrible murder. And would he have done the same to me if I hadn't escaped? If Anya's painting hadn't fallen off the wall? There was an explanation, of course. When Eric had moved the painting to his office, he'd mistakenly installed one of the hangers into pure dry wall. The weight of the painting had caused it to rip out, and the painting fell. But sometimes I think Anya was watching over me, that her self-portrait carried a piece of her, and that night she'd protected me from falling victim to the monster who ended her life. The painting now hangs up in my foyer. Every day I walk by it, and new details pop out at me. The deep, shadowy green of the room behind her. A perfectly painted strand of blonde hair, the glint in her piercing gray eyes. And sometimes I think she's smiling back at me. Hi, Mary. Mary, I missed you. Melly. Quite contrary. You'll have to rewind, Mary. Mary. Kind of two kind of good stories tonight, Mary. I think you'll like them. Started out 90s trivia and wasn't getting anywhere there. Mary W? I don't think so. Are you Mary W, Mary? I was going to say, I didn't think so. How come I don't remember Mary W? Mary W? Was it just W? I don't remember for some reason. Mary S. Oh. Mary Smith. Okay. Thank y'all. Glad you guys came to listen. At least we have us a nice little intimate crowd. So, Mary from Phoenix, very good. At least you're getting some warm weather, huh? Love you guys. Thanks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.